Hello students, my name is mfotenopulos. I'm your academic coach here at Springdale Public Schools, and today I want to work off of this test that we're going to be looking at. Let's see if I've got a title for this. I know I do. No, I don't have it there. Okay, so this is the, I'll write it up here. Let's do that. This is the PreACT 8, 9. That is to say, it's really geared towards 8th and 9th graders, but we're going to play with it anyway. And see if we can learn something here. And this is Form 20J. Let's just go over that real quick. If you're ever taking a look at any kind of ACT test in the future, look right there at the bottom corner of the page. And it'll usually have the code for it, etc. And then what you can start to do at that point is plug that into just Google or YouTube and see if somebody's already worked that thing for you in front of you, so that you can, learn that much more, etc. Maybe they got answers for you, etc. on YouTube. You would be surprised at how many of these things are out there. And I'm just trying to teach you how to read the test and what it is, and there it is. So there we go. Okay, let's do some ACT math. One of the things that I want you to know about ACT math is that the test questions always get increasingly difficult. So number one should be a big old smiley face, easy. And by the time you get to like number 35, I bet there's probably going to be a little bit of an angry face. And you're probably not going to, not that you won't be able to do it, but it's just, again, you're starting to break out calculators and you're really starting to use some thinking, which is cool. But I say that for this reason. I don't want you to come in here looking at number one and trying, scratching your head and, start taking off your shoes and counting fingers and toes and all this kind of stuff. I'm telling you, number 1 through 10 should be easy questions for us, okay? Today, what I want you to really understand too is just what are the themes, what are the ideas that they're getting at when it comes to their ACT math? What is it they want me to know? And then how can I apply that in the future to any ACT test that I take? They've been asking the same questions. They're going after the same concepts since well before you were born. I promise you, they've been doing these same questions, same format, same concepts since literally I Dream of Jeannie was on in prime time back in the late 60s. I promise you. So let's get in here and start seeing what we can figure out. Number 1, a scatter plot is shown below. And it says one of the following graphs below is the line of best fit. They're just basically seeing, can you match what's going on here? So I'm looking at this one and I go, there it is, to the best of my ability. And the best one that looks like that is this one, E. That's it. I'm not going to overthink it. Done. Going to the next one. Use the following information to answer questions 2 and 3. Okay, cool. I'll do that. What is the total number of 8th grade students surveyed? 2. Again, I guess I can come up here and read this, and you certainly could, but I just like to go to the question and just see what I'm supposed to do with all this information so I don't have to read everything twice. Like read this. I don't want to have to read this and then read all this and then come down here. Oh, now I got to go back up here and do all this business. Okay. So what is the total number of 8th grade students surveyed? So there's my 8th graders. So let's see, they had a survey, particular school. There's 3 categories. The results of the survey are summarized in the two-way table below. Okay. So there it is. So this is basically your ability to read a table, read a chart. That's all this is. Can you read a chart? And in this case, it looks like they want me to go left to right. Cool. So they had 45 that liked reading. Exercise, sports was 47, 54 in TV. That's 146. So the answer there is J. That's it. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. 3. I'm going to have to make this a little smaller so we can see. On 3, it says, of the students surveyed that classified their favorite activity as TV video games, which is this one, right? That's the two-way part of it. It goes this way, it goes this way, and then it goes this way. What fraction are 8th grade students? Again, we're dealing with 8th graders, so let's find out who they are. So there's 54 of these guys, okay, are the ones that wanted to get involved in TV video games out of a total of 175. So which one looks like, oh, that's B. That's it. Okay. So again, I don't want you to overthink this. You should never overthink this. I don't know how else to say it. Don't make it hard. Let's get in here and look at number 4. Let's blow it up a little bit so we can see a little bit better. 4 is basically just asking you how to write an equation. I'm sorry, that went away. That's all this is, how to write an equation. Please forgive me. I got when I write on this thing, I know you guys think maybe I'm I don't know, like I can't hold a pencil or something, but I'm having to write without my hand on the table. I got to, anyway, it's weird. Okay, enough of that. So they ask for a number. They want to subtract 3 from the number. So immediately I'm thinking that to that. So I can go over here and just start kind of going, well, which one of these doesn't even begin to look like that? None of them. The only one that looks like that is that one. Then they want to multiply the new number by 5. So that's this. And then when you input this into a computer, the final number of 60, the output is 60. So that means that's going to equal 60. So you can start to see, I put my number behind the whole thing. Over here, they put it as F. And you can just start marking things off. It don't even make sense. When that first one, again, it's number 4. They're not going to make this up big and tricky. They just want to see, do you have math literacy? Can you write an equation? That's what this is. And by the way, let's just talk about that for a second. That's exactly what ACT math is. It's testing your literacy. They did that on the English test. They're going to do it on the reading test. Here, they're asking, how good is your literacy in math? That's what this whole test is. That's what the whole test is. How well do you speak and read in math? And there's going to be some kids that do it really well, all the way to number 60. And there's going to be some that fall off. You want to know why? Because they don't read and speak in math very much. There you go. So that's what this is maybe getting you to speak in math a little bit more. And that's what they're really testing us on. Okay. Enough of that. Let's get in here and do number 5. Number 5. This is on every. I can't tell you. This is on every ACT test that I ever see, and it's basically they're giving you 2 triangles, and they are kind of setting them up, and then they say this word. They say equal, or they say some sort of thing like parallel, or there's some sort of word in there that describes that everything here is basically equal, like the ratio is equal. However you want to say it. And so then they want to know what is the length in feet of AB. So it's that one right there. This is what they want to know, this business right there. And then it's equal to this one over here. So let's just transpose this rascal to that rascal, and then we'll know the answer. So over here, I see there's my hypotenuse. Over here it's 10, over here it's 20. So that means I'm doubling everything. So on this side, it's 6 feet. So over here, it'd be 12 feet, I think. And over here, it's 8, so that's 16. They want to know B to A or A to B. That's 12. C. Okay? So it's really that simple. Again, there's some things in here that just make me go, oh, that equal business means a ton to me. Okay? Next, let's go to 6. In the figure below, AB is parallel to DE and B is on CD. The measure of ABC is 116, which they give you right there. Okay, cool. What is the measure of BDE? And they even ask you right there what is going on there. So immediately I start thinking of, okay, how many degrees are in a line? You need to start thinking 180. It's the same thing with the triangle, right? 180. Okay. And so they already give you 116 is there, right? Okay. And so it would be really nice if I knew what that angle is. Then I could just transpose it to that line right there, because that angle is this angle. This angle is that angle. So 180 minus 116 That gives me 64. So that is that angle, which obviously is going to be that angle too. So it's J. The answer is J. Again, notice it's number 6. Not difficult stuff. Don't make it hard. That's coming. Okay? Rest assured, that's coming. Don't make this hard yet. Okay. Number 7. They even give you the formula up there. So you need to remember what pi is. No, you don't. Look, they give that to you. Okay, there you go. The volume of a right triangular, of a right cylinder may be calculated using the form or the formula volume equals pi r squared times h. Radius, h is the height in the circular cylinder below, the radius and the height. And so basically you just need to start putting that formula together down here. Okay, so that's 3.14 times, okay, well, there's your radius, right? There's your radius. It's got to get squared, though. Don't forget that. Look at that. It's got to get squared. So that's 9. Then I'm going to multiply it by the height, right? Which is 12. Then you just take a calculator and plug all that in. 3.19 times 9 times 12. And you should get, when it's all said and done, 339.12. That best answer is C. There you go. Again, you're just testing. They're just testing your literacy in math. How well are you? What is your literacy like in math? Number 8. Again, on every ACT math test is this word right here. It's called probability. Okay, probability. I want to, let's see, where, no, that, I won't answer that. Pardon me, please forgive. I'm looking for my little eraser. Used to have an eraser. Went away. Okay, all tools. Let's do that. All tools. No. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so anyway, probability. A number will, okay, so anytime I'm doing probability, please forgive me. Anytime I'm doing probability, I'm looking at a fraction, okay? And in the probability fraction, I'm going to have a total. That's always at the bottom. And then up here will be what I want. Okay, what's the probability Michael pull? You got marbles in a bag. What's the probability that Michael pull a blue marble out of the bag? Well, then you got to know how many marbles you got in there, how many are blue, green, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So there's your total versus what you want. Here's the same thing. A number will be chosen at random from a set. 8, 10, 11, 12, 22. You can read those. What is the probability that the number chosen will be even? Even. Okay, well, so we have a total of 9 numbers up there. But how many do we have that are even? Well, 8 is an even one, 10, 22, 36, 42, and 50. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 out of 9. And then I come over here to look at what I got to choose from. I don't see that. But if I break this down, I see that this will go 2/3. It's H. Again, they toughened that one up a little bit. A couple of more steps. This is where some students might miss this one because it's got a few steps involved. You don't get to it singularly. You got to do some things, and then you had to break this thing down. Maybe you started to doubt yourself. You saw 6 over 9, and you're like, well, I don't see it over here, so I'm just going to guess and go J and move on. No. Just, relax. Break that dude down. You got a 6 and a 9. 3 will go into that 2. 3 will go into that 3. There you go. That makes sense. Okay. This next one is basically rounding to the nearest hundredth. Okay, cool. All I do with this one is I take my calculator and I take that number, my 39.944, and then I hit the big old square root button. And when I do that, it says equals 6.320. A. There you go. Again, just working your calculator. What kind of calculator would I have? I'm going to write it right here. I'm just going to say it to you. I really think this is a very valuable calculator for you to use in the future. Is the TI-30X2S. There you go. That's a good one. Why? Because it cost about $12 at Walmart. Okay, and you can take that right there and plug it right into YouTube, and there will be 1 million nerds who can't wait to show you how to use that TI-30X2 series, and you can use that thing all the way until you're into college. The reason I bring that up is because my son, who is an industrial engineer at the University of Arkansas in his junior year, is still using his old TI-30X2S series. Again, there are the TI-80 Plus. Those are good. They're expensive. They're about $100. Do you need that? You certainly can use it. It's called a graphing calculator. Cool. Some of your schools will give them to you, but they'll want them back. Can you use it on the ACT? Yes. Yes, you can. That's the TI-80. But again, it's expensive. You can probably find it on Facebook Marketplace for about $50 or something like that, $40. Maybe on eBay, cheaper. But again, when you get to college, they're probably not going to let you use that rascal because it is you can program formulas into it. Which again, those math classes will want to see you do your work. Again, this one has a lot of the capabilities as that, just can't graph with it. So again, I like this one a lot. $12, easy peasy. If you lose it, you haven't lost the world. You can go get another one. You lose one of these, you start really getting mad, But a TI-30X2, off you go. And that's what I use. If I don't use my Casio, that's another one. I use this the Casio. It's called a Casio MS80B. Many people have these in their kitchen, if you will. Again, I think it's like $10 at Walmart. And again, it's got a lot of the functions on it that I need to do these ACT tests. I get to a point where I need a little bit more than that, but that's all I use. Okay, enough of that. Which of the following decimals has the greatest value? So now you're just basically trying to understand, do you know how to read decimals? Do you know how to read, what's going on with the decimal, with that repeating line over it? Of course, the answer is F. That's an easy one. I can't even do an F. There it is. F. There you go. Okay. These are basically on every ACT math test that I can think of. This is basically quantity and number kind of questions. They're distance questions. Usually there'll be these kinds of questions, distance questions, and then they'll have a money question. Same kind of thought process, and that is you're computing, you're breaking things down, you're trying to get things to a specific type of similar reduction, if you will. Victor normally rides his bicycle to school at a constant rate of 12 miles per hour. The trip takes him 15 minutes. Today, after 5 minutes of riding, his normal rate, he had a flat tire and spent 15 minutes repairing the tire. At what average rate in miles per hour must Victor ride the remainder of the distance to school so that his total travel time to school today is 15 minutes? So he's still trying to stay within that 15 minutes. And again, you can pause me at any time and start working on these that you want. And again, what I try to do here is try to figure out what's he doing in 15 minutes. Well, in 15 minutes, he's going 3 miles. I do know that. Victor normally rides his bicycle to school at a constant rate of 12 miles per hour, and the trip takes him 15 minutes. So again, I got to take that, 15 minutes over 60 minutes. That's going to give me 0.25. And so then he's got a distance rate of 12 miles times 0.25. That's going to give me 24 miles, right? That's where I'm at on that one. Again, this is on every test that I can think of. You can come up with your way of doing that. You might want to take this to your teacher and go, how do I, there's a distance over time, rate. There's that formula. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Again, you can you can do this. If you are having trouble with this one, literally go to Google and type in distance, time, rate formula, or take it to Google or take it to YouTube and ask the same question. This is a distance, time, rate question. Okay. And you'll watch several different people come up with several different ways to approach these types of questions. You need to just kind of figure out the one that you can break it down. Here, you need to come up with 12 miles per hour, and the trip takes 15 minutes. And so now I got to get that into hours. So 15 over 60 minutes equals 0.25. So anyway, and then from there you can figure out the 24. Let's do that real quick. I wanted to show, look how these numbers go from, look how the numbers A goes 6, 8, 24, 30, 60. Look how these go from 0.9, 0.67, 1.19, 1.80. I bring that up because ACT always lists their numbers in ascending order. They start low, they end high. Why does that matter? Well, let's pretend that you needed to just plug in an answer into an equation that they give you. And you could always start with C. You could always start with C and plug it in. Is that the correct answer? Cool, if it is. If it's not, you know if you're high or you're low, and then you don't have to plug in every answer. You can plug in the high or the low, whatever it is that's appropriate for you. Okay, so just another helpful moment to keep in mind as you're taking an ACT math test is that answers are always listed out from lowest to highest. Okay, enough of that. Let's do the next one. Again, number 12. These should start to show a little bit of stiffness to them in as far as difficulty, and we may end on this. No, there's a few more. Let's get to 15 and then we'll call it done. But let's go to 12. On a given day on a certain farm, let's just go down and read it. It can be determined what is the sum of the values of A and B. Okay, so let's do that. What is that? What is that? Okay, so something. The total is 100 or 1, however you want to look at it. So immediately I just start thinking, okay, so this has got to be 67 if the totals. So it's this minus that to give me this. So this was, I'll do this one. A should be 67 point. And then B over here, if that's 48, that B there should be 52. Then if it can be determined what is the sum, when I say the word sum, your teacher may not use that word very often, but that means when this is added up, what is it? What is it? Sum. When I see the word product, that means multiply. Right? When I see sum, that means something's got to get added. Right? Okay. Again, ACT math tests our math literacy. Keep that in mind. Okay. It can be determined what is the sum of the values of A and B in the table. Well, it's really simple. That would be 1.19 H. Right? So it can be determined. Cool. Very good. Your teacher may not use these words, and then from time to time they do. And so again, that's why it's always good to get these tests in front of you so that you can get these kinds of words in front of you so that you can know what's going on too. Okay? All right. Enough of that. Let's get in here. Let's do this next one. Which of the following values for X is a solution to the equation below? This is a great example of what I was talking about earlier is why don't you just plug something in here for X and see if it equals? So what you're looking for is this side to equal that side, right? Right. And you can do this many different ways. The first thing that I like to do is just go ahead and I don't know if I want to plug in these because they're fractions, but there's 2. Let's just do 2 real quick. So that would mean that I'm going to do this. 2 is 2 plus 3 minus 3 times 2 plus 8, and then that would equal 6. 2 minus 5 plus 2. Again, now we got to go back to, this is where we're talking about earlier when I said the word steps. When we use steps, man, sometimes we mess up. But here is our PEMDAS rule, right? When I think of the word PEMDAS, I think of parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. This is it, coming to true life. So the first thing I got to do is get rid of all those parentheses. So the first one I'm going to get is, this parentheses is 5. This parentheses here would be minus 6 plus 8, right, equals minus 3, 6 plus 2. So this is going to be minus 18 plus 2. This is minus 18 plus 2. So this equals minus 16. Over here, I'm just going to go left to right now and go 10 minus 6 plus 8. So that's 4 plus 8. So I can see real quick, 2's not the answer. Let's go to 6. I want to use 6 now and see what that does. And start doing the same thing. And you'll see I got to do it again here in a minute. I'm going to do the same PEMDAS rule. And you'll see that 6 is the one. Because then when I put 6 in here, I come out with 8 equals 8. Okay? And so 6 is the answer, E. I'm going to leave these alone. If I had to do it, I guess I could break out my calculator. And if I did, I would notice that 17 over 7 is 2.43. So then I'd have to plug that in. 46 over 11 is 4.18. And then 39 over 7 is 5.57. I don't want to do that with this business because, again, it's number 13, so it's not going to be real difficult. I'm just going to plug in 6 here and do it that way. Okay. Another way that you could do it is, of course, just to do it immediately, just like that, and just start going across there with PEMDAS rule. And then going ahead and solving for X. You could just simply do that. You could just solve for X if you wanted to. But I do it the other way just because I know that's what they're wanting to do, is one side's got to equal the other side. That's what they've got there. They got that equal sign right there. Okay, enough of that. The next one is really easy, I think. Which of the following numbers is equal to 0.0042? And so basically, when I got to use this scientific notation. When I get 0.0042, I know that I need to come over to get to a number. I got 1, 2, 3 to get that 4.2. And to do that, I did that 3 times. G is looking like the correct answer. Let's do that real quick. 10 times 10 times 10, right? Put that in your calculator. 10 times 10 times 10. That should be 1,000, right? Over 1. And then when I do that, 4.2 times, you're going to find that you're going to get 0.0042. Okay, there's your answer. But this all starts with just understanding that scientific notation there. Lastly, let's look at 15. Again, in a hexagon, all 6 sides have equal lengths. Awesome. There's that word equal. I love it. And then it says, what is the measure of BDE? So I want this one, BDE. Okay. Awesome. I know I've got how many triangles here? 6, but I know in a triangle I've got 180 degrees. I know that. These things are all equal. So out of that 180, divided that by 1, 2, 3, that's right. That's going to be 60. So that's 60 there. That's 60 there. This is 60 there. Right? Am I doing that right? So I'm starting there. I wish I could erase that. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Again, what is the measure of BDE? So I'm coming this way. I'm coming this way. So I got to get this angle here and that angle there. I started off with 60 up there and I started off with 60 here. But see, those 60s don't matter because that's my starting point. That's my starting point. So I come here and then I break it again. So it's 60 and 60 equals 120. See? Okay, so what you can do is you can ask me, send me an email if you want the rest of this test. I can send it to you. And then, of course, I'll send you my notes. I've got this test broken down in my notes with the correct answers to everything. And I'll send that to you. Be glad to do that. And happy math test to you in the future. Remember that ACT math always gets a little more difficult as you cruise along. Number 1 should be easy. Don't overthink it. All the way to the end, it gets a little more difficult. And it's testing your math literacy. It's testing how well do you speak math. So keep that in mind. If you've got any questions, always reach out to your math teacher and say, hey, look what number 15, why am I getting this wrong? How did I get number 18's answer, etc. It's a great moment to start talking about and having a real conversation about math for your future as you continue taking math classes here at Springdale Public Schools and getting better and better. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.